Ainda não começamos, pois não?
Yeah.
Tá.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to be here. Thank you so much, Katia, to be here with us also. I'm going to present you. Katia Almeida is the program director of Believe and Lead from Guillemot Academy, where she has dreamed, designed, and implemented the academy programs in Mozambique. In the past, Katia took the helm of the NGO Presley Reach in Portugal, dedicated to the work with the most vulnerable children and families. Also, she has trained nationally and internationally thousands of people, mostly in leadership, personal development, and therapeutic crisis intervention. Katia's mission in life is designing tools that allow people to be themselves and unleash purposeful paths to their next levels. So thank you, Katia, to be here. So I give you, you can start.
Thank you, Strela. This is such a pleasure to be here with you. I hope that my presentation and whatever I'm going to share with you, and especially the work we do at Girl Move Academy, can be an inspiration for you in whatever is your search here in this e-conference. Let me start by introducing Girl Move Academy. So we are located in Nampula, a city and a province in the north of Mozambique. And we are a leadership academy for women, and we are focused and advancing the next generation of change makers, women change makers that will lead the transformation of their country. So this is what we aim for. And we do this through a mentorship model based on positive reference models. And we want these women to become a positive and a role model for the younger women so that they can perceive a different path and a different future for themselves and for their communities. So we do this. We have sisterhood and mentorship circles. We work with communities. We work with 3 layers of group of women and girls. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about 2 of these programs that are the ones that I'm running. So one is the Believe program. It's for young girls aged between 12 and 15 years old that we kindly call them Warusis. So we call them Warusis because it's the name in Makua, the local dialect. It means young ladies or young girls. So that's how we call them, our Warusis. And the reason why we work with these girls, they all attend the 7th grade. And in Mozambique, which is one of the poorest countries in the world, and it's also one of the countries where women lack the opportunities to actually move on in their studies and do something different with their lives. And the problem starts here in the 7th grade, because only about 30% of these girls actually continue their studies and follow to the secondary education, which starts with the 8th grade. So that's why we work with these girls on the 7th grade. And dropping out of school many times comes with early marriage or child pregnancy. So we are actually working to prevent them from getting married or become pregnant in an early age and stay in school and dream with a different path and future for themselves and for their families. And so we do this, as I have mentioned, with women, young but older women that are role models for them. So this is how I want to introduce the LEAD program. So the LEAD program, we work with college students that are studying in all the universities in Nampula city, and they are with us for a year. And during that year, they dedicate a good amount of their time working with our young Warusis and also having access to a leadership training. And then the third part of our mentorship model are the girl movers that belong to our third program, the Change program. And here we recruit top women from the entire country, that they are young because they just finished or they are about to finish their college degrees. And so we want to track the best women that we can find that have a really high potential of change maker and to actually be the leader that the country needs. So they come to our academy and they stay with us for a year. And not only they have access to a top training related with change making, leadership, entrepreneurship, readiness to get into market, and not only they get trained on all that, as they are a critical piece of our reference model, of our sisterhood and mentorship model. So there is a kind of a cascade model where we see magic happen by the influence that these girls have on each other. And what I want to show you, because I know that this presentation is related with creativity and innovation in vulnerable contexts, and I want to show you one of the videos that we've put together about how we lead with adversity and what we have done last year with COVID. So the video is subtitled, so I believe you won't have problems. So I will show you the video and then I will continue with my presentation. So let me see this. We've tested this before, so hopefully it will go fluid.
Mozambique, 2 casos suspeitos esta luta que ainda vai piorar. Propagação de Covid-19, coronavirus vaccine and...
Este foi o ano em que o mundo se tornou digital. E os nossos programas de liderança das mentoras e girl movers têm agora também uma parte digital que acontece online. Mesmo longe, com a ajuda da internet e das redes sociais, aproximamos as distâncias, transformamos vidas e multiplicamos oportunidades. O grande desafio chega quando as escolas fecham e as alunas vão para casa. É agora que as maruças precisam de nós. Em casa, estão em risco de abandono escolar e mais vulneráveis que nunca. Mas como cuidar de 1.200 raparigas sem meios de acesso ao mundo digital e sem telefone? O primeiro passo foi garantir a sua segurança em novo espaço. Mapeamos o ponto de contato telefônico para cada uma das maruças. Podia ser a mãe, o tio ou até o filho. Para manter e fortalecer a sua ligação, cada mentora falou uma vez por semana com as suas maruças. A comunicação não foi fácil, mas mesmo que fossem precisas várias tentativas ao atenderem, as maruças sabiam que tinham ali o apoio e segurança da mentora, que as ouvia, aconselhava e desafiava com tarefas difíceis. Em muitos casos, visitamos até as suas casas, sempre em segurança, para garantir que estavam protegidas. Agora que sabíamos que as maruças estavam bem, como garantir que com as escolas fechadas, elas continuavam motivadas para aprender? Estas são raparigas no final do ensino básico e em dezembro têm um exame para fazer, mesmo sem acesso às aulas durante o ano inteiro. Como garantir que estavam preparadas para superar esta etapa? Em Portugal, a Sport Game estava a desenvolver um jogo de literacia e este é o momento perfeito para o testar. Unimos forças e gamificamos a aprendizagem da leitura com um jogo. Fomos ao terreno e, em segurança, entregamos a cada uma um caderno destes nomes, com desafios semanais, onde a esperança é a personagem principal. O objetivo era iniciar uma jornada de aprendizagem à distância com apoio e supervisão das mentoras através de chamadas de mensagens. Hoje são 900 raparigas com quem mantemos contato regular. Hoje, as nossas maruças estão preparadas para voltar à escola e fazer os exames da 7ª classe, não deixando fugir uma oportunidade de estudar e lutar por uma vida melhor. Foram milhares de chamadas e mensagens e com este sucesso, o Believe in Touch será replicado em outros projetos. A nossa realidade é viva. Nós conseguimos manter as nossas maruças seguras, acompanhadas e preparadas para principalmente seguir o seu percurso escolar e continuar a dar passos para realizar os seus sonhos.
Okay, so this was the video. I hope you were able to see it through and to understand. It was subtitled. And I always like to show the video because it gives you a context of where we operate, how it looks like, and how hard it is to actually do things, especially when you are away. Because of COVID, I couldn't be in Mozambique. I work from Portugal, but I go there often, and all my team is there. So it was quite a challenge to continue to, manage the program and the team with all the challenges and the new things that we had to do. So it was quite a challenge, but I think we overcome it in an amazing way, and I feel really proud about that when I talk with you. So just to give you a heads up, when we did this video, this was it by the end of last year, that we were still, we were trying to do whatever we could to maintain these girls safe, to keep them connected with the learning process with school so that they would not give up. Because everywhere in the world, what we could hear is that the COVID situation increased tremendously the social differences. And not only that, but increased tremendously the amount of girls that drop out of school in an early age. So we knew already that this was a problem. It's one of the biggest problems in countries like Mozambique. And with all the pandemic situation, we knew that the chances would be really high for this to increase. So let me tell you that the girls, they did their final exam, not in December, but in January. And 86% of our girls successfully passed the exams and transitioned to the 8th grade, which is, I think it's unbelievable considering everything that we went through last year. And as we speak, we are in the process of helping the girls and their parents, of course, register in the 8th grade while recruiting the new class of Warusis that we are going to start and work with in 1 or 2 weeks from now. So let me tell you some of the things that I believe are important when to advance innovation in vulnerable contexts like this one. First of all, we need to understand the reality that we are working with. So when we've mapped all of our girls, and there were 1,200, only 7% had their own phone, their own cell phone. And we are not talking about smartphones like ours, okay? So many of them was just a very basic, simple phone that probably many of us never had. So we had to reinvent ourselves in the way we were communicating with them. And in general, what was good for Girl Move Academy was that we advanced tremendously technology as a mean to work with our girls. As for our college students, we have created a closed Facebook group as the major mean to teach them and to develop our own lead program for them. And the reason why we've created a closed Facebook group was because what we did as fast as possible was to understand how is their connection with internet. What do they use? What it's easy for them? What it's something that they already know the basics and they don't need to learn a lot to engage. And all of them were on Facebook and were very active. So let's create a group on Facebook and we will deliver the entire program there with live presentations, with challenges, with videos. And it was such a success that it's something that we are keeping. So this year we are going back to some of the sessions physically with them, but we are keeping the Facebook group because it actually works. It was amazing, the result. Even training them to be with the Mwarusis, we use the Facebook for that. And so I guess that we need to see what we have, what are the resources, and then based on that, let's use them in the more creative way we can. I never thought, if you would ask me 2 years ago if I would ever use Facebook to teach or to advance the education of 100 women, I would never think that this would happen or would be possible. And I'm a big fan of internet in general, social media. I'm not dependent on it. I think I manage it pretty well, but I'm a big fan of the possibilities. And even knowing that and having access to courses online and many things online in different platforms, it never occurred to me before that Facebook could even be a learning platform like that. So I guess that by challenging some of our perceived ideas and testing things with the resources that we have available, we have everyday opportunities to be creative. Now, we always need to start from somewhere. And our starting point was always connection. This is the most important thing. Keep in touch with them at all times. Maintain their connection and bridge the gap between what they are doing now and their education, and continuing to feed the importance of staying in school, advancing and investing in education. And we did all that. Now, other challenges: only 30% of the population in Mozambique has electricity at home. And I'm talking about a population of 30 million people. And when I say that only 30%, it's not in the communities where we work with our Muarusis. From what you've seen in the video, it's easy to understand that the majority of them do not have access to electricity, and they don't have access also to clean water. So they walk long distances. Before the school day begins, these girls, many of them, have already walked at least 10 kilometers to go get water, to bring it home, so that the only meal in the day will be cooked. And usually it's not before they go to school, but after they come from school. So there are a lot of challenges, and I believe that we can use technology and we can use many of the resources available. So we work with these girls and advance what they need to move forward. And talking about some of the things that I'm looking at my notes, and I want to use this as tips for how to advance a creative environment, mostly when we work with young people. And if we can do this in Mozambique, we can do this anywhere. So the first thing is we need to recognize that all learning is state depending. I will repeat this again. All learning is state depending. And what do I mean by this? If you are in a state of boredom or fear, of oppression or whatever, you will not learn. Previously to my work at Girl Move Academy, I was working with Presley Ridge, that works with the most vulnerable and troubled kids. And I've never found a child or a teenager that doesn't like to learn. Everybody, all kids, they love to learn. But what we see many times in schools and in education environments is adults complaining that the kids don't like to learn. So what happens is they've had a bad experience with the learning process. And whenever we have bad experiences, and just look at your own experience, even if we are all successful, in what I mean by successful is we all have some sort of, college degree or educational degree or whatever, I assume. Okay, so let's say that we are kind of successful because we reach college. And I assume that we all have reached some level like that. I'm sure that everybody can identify situations that the learning process was painful. Okay. And if you think about that, it's always related with your emotional state. Okay. And the experiences you are having, mostly with the relationship with somebody, with connection, and with the state that you get into because it's painful. Okay. Because you are being mistreated, because you fail and that's not accepted, because you are struggling, because this is really hard, and nobody understands that you need a different exposure to the learning process to actually learn something. We don't all learn the same way. Okay, we all have different ways of learning. And if somebody that is delivering a message teaches always the same way, means that this person is always reaching a certain amount of kids in the classroom. And it makes the work really hard for all the others. Okay, so, and when I look at Mozambique and when I look at the schools, especially in Nampula and in the area, oftentimes you have 50 or even 500 kids in a classroom with a teacher that is teaching old school, like the same way my grandparents learned when they were in school. And of course, when you look at the kids, they are bored. Many of them are asleep, of course, because they are tired. They have started, with sunrise that happens at 4 a.m. And when they go to school at 7:30, they are exhausted from everything that already happened since sunrise. And the way the teaching happens is many times focused in the person that is teaching. And this is the death of creativity. Okay? So my second tip related with this is that learning is not a spectator sport. I will say it again. Learning is not a spectator sport. We do not learn as what is happening here. You are spectators, okay? I'm here talking about all the things that I'm against of, and I'm doing exactly the same thing. So I'm talking and you are being spectators, okay? So my challenge to you is just comment and post and ask questions. Be active about it. Okay? You don't have to agree with what I'm saying. Whatever it comes in your mind, just react to it. Okay? So this means that learning by doing is one of the most effective ways of learning, not only for kids, but for us as well. Okay? Every time we are engaged in an experiential way, in the learning process, we advance tremendously. And that's when creativity usually happens. Okay? We need to create the room and the space for that. So what we did with our modules is before COVID, and we still have that, all of our curriculum for them is experiential. We gamify all the processes of everything that they learn. So it's very hands-on. And it has to be because even though they are in the 7th grade, close to 50% of our girls, when we start working with them, they can't read. They still have reading problems, and they are in the 7th grade. And you might wonder, how can that be? Well, when you have 100 kids in one classroom, what happens is you don't know them. They all just go through education until a point that it actually gets serious and they have a national exam, and then you know how bad education is because how many kids fail in the exam. So what we did previously, and we still have that, the way we work with our kids is very experiential with our girls. And with COVID, we have gamified 2 things. One was the reading process, and you saw that in the video. So there was this character, Hope, that was her name, that she guided our young girls through a journey that along the journey they were having lots of different challenges that was actually teaching them how to read. So this was one of the things we did. The other thing was we also gamified the SDGs process. Okay, the social developmental goals. And one of the reasons for that is that kids need to know the world beyond their own, small and short world. And even though they walk long distances every day, their world is very shrinked. I see this a lot with the girls that we work with. I remember the first time I went to Nampula, and this was 7 years ago. I went to one of the villages that we work with, very remote. So those houses probably 500 years ago would look the same way. No electricity, of course, no water. We had to walk a lot to get there, and we were with the girls. And people are very friendly and they received us very well. So they gave us a bunch of cane sugar. And so the girls were carrying the cane sugar the way they usually do. So they were trying to get all the canes together and put them on their heads and just walk. And I could see that they were struggling. The girls were struggling doing that. So I asked their permission to suggest something different. And they had a piece of rope. So I just wrapped the rope and did something that you could actually hold the canes like this, as if it were a basket or something. So I gave it to them, and the girls were just hysterical, like this is the last Coke in the desert. It was just, I could not believe how hysterical those young girls were from such a simple solution that didn't take anything for me to come up with. And I think that you need to have different experiences in your life and perceive the world and have access to the world in order to be creative. You will be very limited in your creativity if you have access to the same information and the same stimulus every day. So you need something different. And so we bring the world to them. And of course, now we are figuring out how we can use, technology and all that to even make it more diverse the way we bring the world to them. And just because their education is not comparable to the one we have in countries like Portugal or in the North Hemisphere of the world, it doesn't mean that we cannot bring them things like the SDGs, for instance, okay? And understanding that there is this dimension of the world and that there are these problems that the world is facing and organized, in these 17 challenges that they can actually see in their own communities, challenges related with all of them. Okay, so we gamified that process as well. And it was amazing that the girls then became the own change makers in their community. So one of the challenges related with, the environment and all that. So the girls had to reduce the consumption of plastic. And where are the alternatives? And of course, what are the resources and what are the means that people use or used to use in that location? So in the old days or traditionally, most people there use baskets, beautiful baskets, handmade. And this was what they used, to carry things. So we went back to that process and we found the people that are making the baskets, and the girls learned how to do it. And then they were talking with the community, telling them that it's preferable to use those baskets and not the baskets that are made with the coconuts, with the things from the coconut trees that are abundant. So you have coconut trees everywhere. So you can actually use that to make the baskets. And so they were telling their communities why you should use this and not the plastics. So they can become change makers. And the girls really love that. And we have to give them a felt experience. And this is another tip. You actually need a felt experience to be creative. And I will say it again. You need a felt experience to be creative. Okay, so try something, experiment it, and not just talk about it. So we could just talk about how important it is to reduce plastic consumption. But what are the alternatives? What are the alternatives we have now that we know that this is not good and it is damaging our environment and all that? So felt experiences are very, very important. Okay, so not only bringing knowledge, but having them acting on the knowledge that they are getting. And it's amazing how creative these girls can be, even if they don't have the same level of education that kids in my country at least have with the same age. So this was something that we really love to do. The other tip I want to leave you is related with how important it is to have your body in the experiences you are doing. And the way I want to put this is, as your body moves, your brain grooves. I will say it again. As your body moves, your brain grooves. And more and more and more, we have neuroscientists talking about what happens about learning when you engage your body into it. We have more and more research every day talking about the importance of movement, of being active physically to advance knowledge and to advance learning. So the other thing we have done with our girls, because we know this and we understood that we need to include this in our program, we have created another dimension of the program that we call it Mwarusi in Motion. So 2 years ago, we did a pilot where we actually had the girls playing rugby, so that through rugby, we could work with them the life skills that they need. And you might wonder, well, why rugby? Well, first of all, we love the values, the baseline values for rugby, and they are tremendous, and they are quite aligned with Girl Move Academy values and how we perceive education and learning in general. Secondly, there was no rugby at all in Nampula, so we brought the sport to Nampula for the first time. And Nampula is a region that women are not treated nicely. They are seen as very instrumental in the process of becoming mothers and taking care of the men and the family. So there is not a lot of respect over women. And can you imagine young girls, 1,000 young girls playing rugby, a sport that in Mozambique probably is more seen as a men's sport, and then these girls are actually doing and learning amazing things about themselves, and learning to speak their voice, to smile, to talk, to share their thoughts, and to be accepted, and to fail, and that's okay. And it's by failing that I can actually reach the next level. So this was amazing. And the other thing, last year, we were going to advance rugby and basketball, and because of COVID, everything stopped. So as soon as we could do something with the girls, we decided to try dance. So we started Mwarusi for dance. And the reason why we chose dance is because you can keep physical distance, so it's okay, it's safe. You cannot do it with rugby and basketball, but you can do it with dance purposefully if you want. And our goal was also to teach them a new way of expression through dance. So it's not only dancing, and all the examples I'm giving you is we can always be creative in our approach to things. So we actually did a dance lab before so that we could design the sessions that we wanted to deliver with the girls. So we have identified 10 important messages and 7 emotions that we thought were important for them. And we codified those in dance movements based in the traditional dances from many places all over Mozambique. So it gives them, in one hand, that sense of all the traditional dances everywhere in the country, but also connects. So dance is more related with warrior, more related with messages, with being strong, with speak louder, your voice, things like that, with powerful messages. And so the magic thing about it was that these girls first learned the language that we have created, and then they started creating their own movements to send a message to us. So we actually gave them another form of expression that it's not based on words and that it's quite powerful. So this was amazing what happened here. So what I'm trying to say to you is we need to, whenever you find something that you think it's okay and it pleases you, think about what is the next level and continue to advance for the next level, and engage the young people in whatever you are doing. So we can start designing something, but then give it to them and they will try. Or even better, depending on their ages, start designing and advancing things with them, because they perceive things and the world in ways that are such wonderful opportunities for us as adults. So I think that adults have greater chances to continue to be creative if we are in touch with the young people, because the way they embrace the challenges, and the younger the better. Have you ever realized that if you are working with kindergartens, for instance, they are not afraid to fail. It's all about trying even when they are starting to walk. And what happens is we expect them to fail while learning. So we don't judge them. Okay? So they are trying, we don't judgment, and they feel encouraged to continue. And then judgment begins, right? At a certain point, we start telling them how things should be done and the right way to do things. And this is how we start killing creativity and innovation. Okay? And if we want to be creative, first of all, we need to embrace failure as a huge and the most critical part of the process. And we have to create an environment where failure is the norm, okay? And where we celebrate failures. If there are some failures that you cannot do, then prepare, plan, try, and do whatever you have to do in order for that not to happen. Okay? But this is, if we are talking about an experimental mode and trying something new, it's just amazing what you can accomplish. And the interesting thing is that you are much more likely to be creative if there is joy involved. If there's joy involved, if you are connected with other people. So this is something that you don't do by yourself. And the gamification process, playing around. And this is as true for young kids or teenagers as it is for adults. Okay. The best times that I've had in my professional career was when there was such a sense of joy and play on my team. And it was such in a way that we were never so creative as when we were having the best time. Okay. Playing around and joy and creating crazy things all the time and laughing. So I perceive this as the best mode to advance creativity, because you are relaxed. And when you are relaxed and having fun, you are more likely to be creative. That craziness that comes out, that's what we need, actually. Okay? Especially in a world with so much stress and so many rules and restrictions, we need more and more and more a free environment to express ourselves and to actually be crazy in a healthy way. Okay? So I guess that these are the main messages that I wanted to share with you. And I will leave it for your side now, for questions, for engagement, as much as you'd like.
Katia, thank you so much. It's inspiring everything that you have said, you have showed to us. Everybody here is commenting about this. And also, thank you so much for all these tips, because we here in the participants are from different countries. We have Sara from Guatemala. They also works with communities. We have Xochitl that is from Nicaragua, and we want to implement some strategies there. Also, there are people from Portugal that works with in sectors, in vulnerable sectors here in Portugal as well. We have Mark that he lives in Holland and works with communities. So all these examples are inspiring because we need to know how what we can do, because a lot of the government, the institutions says in vulnerable sectors, and at least also for my experience, is the typical answer is because we don't have money, because we don't have time, we don't have technology, we don't have professors. Always there is something that we don't have. But that's why we invite you here, because you are creative with all the team is creative, and you are innovating all the time with the things that you already have, and are examples that we can use. Now, I don't know if we have some questions here. I prepared some questions, but I think that you answer all of this. So I just want to ask something related about how to create leadership through a psychological intervention with the community members. In the case with all the team that is there in this aspect, just to know about this.
Let me see if I understand the question. You are asking about leadership?
Yes, how to create leadership through psychological intervention with the community members, in the way that sometimes they need some specific helps or something, like they are have a lot of maybe problems in their families, in their lives, and how you manage this with the members and maybe with the girls that are participating.
Well, this is always a challenge, and we are dealing with another challenge that I guess it's one of the biggest threats to the work that we are doing, that is related with deeply and ancient cultural rituals that people are attached to, and they don't want to give up on them. I don't know if you've heard of that, but in Mozambique and in the north, you have a lot of that too. The young girls, once they have their period, they go through these rituals related with beginning their sexual life and pleasing their husbands. That can be very traumatized for the young girls. And we know that as soon as they go through that process, they are more likely to get pregnant and to drop out of school. So the way we are working to address this, it's not myself that I'm foreign, I'm white. They don't recognize me as somebody that will go there and understand their culture, but it's our girl movers, our college students that are from Mozambique, that are women that already, some of them have passed through that as well, and they can talk with them differently and actually guide them to a different approach. So this is specifically about, for me, it's easier to address specific issues, and I can give you one or two more examples. So this is one of them. So these girls, what they are trying to do is, well, what they do, and they are actually very successful. So it's the old women, the mamas, that are actually leading the rituals. So what our girls, what our women, our Girl Move Academy women do is they talk with these mamas and ask them to postpone the rituals for later, whenever they are 16 or whenever they are, to give them a chance to be a child, to finish school, and why it's so important to finish school. And my belief is that what happens is whenever some of these girls are older, they will be strong enough to say no, and this will happen because some girls will say no even younger. But if you are older and if you've learned and developed some, very important skills, and we believe in that in the work we are doing with them, with 16 or 17 years old, it will be easier for them to say no and to defend themselves than if they are 12. Okay, so this is one of the examples. The other is, the expectations that some stakeholders and even parents have about the work we do, and what should be the right thing for their daughters. And another of the struggles is many of these families, they don't have just one child. They have 5, 6, sometimes even more kids. And if the family is very poor And if they have to make decisions about who goes to school, usually boys go to school and girls won't go to school because there's not enough money. And we see this a lot as well. So we talk with the families. And we try to explain them that if girls go to school, this will actually influence the way the family is living in 5 or 10 years from now. So if the girl stays at home, we are perpetuating the poverty situation that they are already in. And this is not an easy conversation, of course, but this is something that we try to do as well. Now, the good thing is, because we are in those communities for 7 years now, they really like us and they accept us. Probably many of them don't really know exactly what we are doing there yet, but they believe it's good for the girls. And and we work with important stakeholders, like all communities have a community representative. So we do all the work so that he's an ally. Many times it's a man. I don't think we have any community with a woman playing this role. So he has to be an ally. The local church, the school director. So there's a lot of work being done with critical stakeholders in the communities so that they understand that it's important for young girls to continue in school. Okay. I don't know if this answered the question, but this was my understanding.
No, this was perfect. Actually, we have here a question from Mark. Is activating hope under preferred future and resilience possibilities when dealing with cultural issues? I don't know if I explained well. I'm going to repeat it. Is activating hope under preferred future and resilience possibilities when dealing with cultural issues?
If by dealing with cultural issues, it's harder to work resilience, is that what the question means?
I think yes, Mark. If you want to ask something, well, related to resilience, too. We talk a lot about resilience and how to work values of respect, plurality, resilience in conflict environments. Like you already said before, like these difficulties that you have, like the man has to do this and the woman has to do this. So in that case, how to work values of respect, plurality, resilience in conflict environments, and how could you define conscious school? I know that you are doing a lot of things and you are worried for all this, and the examples that you make, like for example the rugby and the other stages that you did about resilience. So how to work with this when the context has all these ways to live.
Mm-hmm. But let me see if I got it right. I will respond whatever I understood, and then just let me know if I got it right or not. Resilience is one of the critical things. I do think that in general, human beings, we are resilient people. We would never be able to deal with grief or loss if we were not resilient. Now, it's a lot of the experiences we have in life and the way we go through those experiences and the support system we have that will increase that resilience or not. Okay, so what I see, and I think this is easier to describe by the older women. So what we see a lot in the older women, not the older women, I mean, they are really young women, but they are not girls, young girls. When we work with our young women and their ages are anywhere between 18 years old and 25, that's the age range, what we see is that a lot of them had to overcome many problems and struggles to actually get into college. When we look at all the girls that actually continue their education in Mozambique and actually get into college, we are talking about 1% of all the women that actually continue their studies. So only 1% go to college. And many of them have to fight with their parents. Some of them cut the relationships with their parents because they want to go to college, and especially if college is located in a different town than the one where they are, because you don't have all the options everywhere. The other thing we see is that a huge amount of these girls, they are not studying their dream area because it was not available where they were, and they couldn't go elsewhere. So what happens is the amount of struggles that these young girls have to go through while growing up to actually reach college and have a different dream for their lives, it's tremendous, and they are quite resilient. Now, that doesn't mean that they are not struggling. We see a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder, a lot, from all the struggles and all the things that they had to go through to actually get there. Even though they reach there, many times you see problems of, low self-esteem. I'm not worthy. We see this a lot, even though, all the evidence shows that you are a warrior. But the thing is, and this is really interesting for many dimensions of our life, your beliefs will influence many of your decisions and how you perceive life, and mostly how you perceive yourself. So a lot of the work we do with them, and when we think about Girl Move Academy and what are the baseline of what we do, and the most important things are related with this deep dive into yourself, and to actually accept who you are and discover your authentic self and advance it to another level where you can actually see magic happens. So there is a lot of healing going on. With the young girls, you see where it starts. When we are working with them, we see a lot of that as well, where it starts and how. And the amount of pressure that you have to deal with while growing up as a girl, in a country and in communities like those, that are actually where you actually don't have access to the same opportunities just because you are a girl. So by looking at this, my admiration for these women, and it's just tremendous. I don't think I have any words to describe it. When I never like to diminish other people's or my problems based on other people's experiences, because any experience is always personal. And the way you relate to your experience, even if we are doing the same thing, will be completely different than the way I relate. But I see concepts like resilience as dynamic. What I mean is my perception of resilience has changed tremendously with my experience with Mozambique women. So I had a perception and conception of what resilience means. And of course, you have all the research and all the right descriptions of it, but then you have your own perception. And I see concepts as dynamic because when you have more experiences in your life, you grow your perceptions of things. And I grew my perception of resilience by looking and learning their own experiences. And so I have a profound admiration for these women, for the fights that they have to go through without being prepared from a very young age, and how strong they become. I think it's a life experience and a life role model in general for us. That's why our model in Girl Move Academy is based on these reference models, because these experiences of women that overcome so many struggles to actually not only be themselves, but change their own country. I think this is tremendous. This has to be a reference model, and we have to use it in a way that the younger girls will see that as a possibility for themselves as well. And of course, at the end of the day, it's all about relationships, the way they relate and work on that together.
Thank you so much, Katia. Well, we want to have more time here to discuss more topics, more amazing actions that you have developed there, you and your team. Here, everybody likes so much your presentation. Somebody says if you can share the video, we can find them in the.
Yes, you can find it. If you go to the YouTube and if you write Girl Move Academy, not only you will find this video, but you will find many beautiful videos that we have about the work we do. Please go there and take a look. I think you will like it.
Thank you so much, Katia. Thank you so much for your time, for share all this knowledge and examples that we can do from different countries that we are here to see. And thank you again, and see you all of you in the next session. And thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you all of you for being present here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.